Oh no. I have a stain on my shirt. Sule! For anyone who has read The Way of Kings, the term Bridge 4 will surely bring a swell of emotion. Thinking back to their suffering, their sacrifice, their risks, their triumphs, and even their losses, this group of heroes, and one villain, deserves to be remembered. Today I want to recap just what happened to Bridge 4, where its members left off, who's left, and figure out what's in store for their future. Today we have spoilers for Wind and Truth and the Sunlit Man, as well as very minor spoilers for Yuumi and the Nightmare Painter. Also, we have a goal to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and time is ticking, so please help us out and press subscribe. Let's start off with one of the most heroic members of the bunch, Numa Hukumaki Aki Aya Lunamore, maybe better known as Rock. As the only Unkalaki member of Bridge 4, he has a rather unique story. When one of his elder brothers passed away, he became the third son. This made him too important for combat, and he turned craftsman instead. Rock's leader was killed by Toril Sadius in a duel for plates, sentencing Rock to Sadius' service. This did not last long, as Rock fed Sadius Chal Krem, further sentencing him to Bridge 4. Here, Rock would be one of the first to assist in Kaladin's shenanigans. Before long, he would become Bridge 4's cook, and routinely make his famous stew to help bond the slaves. When Bridge 4 became the new Cobalt Guard, he became a lieutenant and quartermaster. Even during the early stages of the True Desolation, Rock refused to engage in any combat. Unfortunately, this was a near impossible task for a Windrunner squire at this time, and during the Battle of Thingland Field, Lunamore stepped in to save Kaladin from a Yelagnar-possessed Meridus Amaram. It was an epic moment for Lunamore as he used a shard bow to strike the traitor dead, without shard plate. He later decided that this honor demanded he return home to face judgment from his people. This bittersweet goodbye was further complicated by the fact that Odium held a great force in the Horneater Peaks at the time. Rock would be traveling to a military-occupied home to atone for committing a sin that saved his close friend's life. We won't have to wait too long to hear what really happened to our Horneater pal though, as Brandon still plans on writing the next part of his story in a novella titled Horneater. If all goes well, this still might be released sometime in 2026. Before becoming a slave and finding himself in Stormblast's crew, Skar split rocks. No, not Horneater chefs, actual rocks. He got into trouble when trying to join High Prince Aladar's bodyguards. They weren't very happy when he stole one of their uniforms, and he was sentenced to Bridge 4 because of it. Skar quickly became one of Kaladin's closest supporters and one of his most dangerous soldiers. He eventually got married to a scribe named Ristina. He later accompanied Rock and his family back to the Horneater Peaks. He was going to be made company second, but refused it since he would rather be in charge of training Windrunner recruits as Captain Lord. He also assisted Sigzil and the rest of the Windrunners at the Second Battle of Narak, but more on that later. After being overrun by Odium's forces, Skar and some other Windrunners made their way to Aesir to assist Adolin's stand against the Fused. We don't know exactly where he is now, but he presumably survived the battle and will certainly be helping with what's left of the Urithiru Coalition rebuild. We won't have to wait till book 6 to see him again though, as Brandon has confirmed that Skar will be a major character in the Horneater novella. Drehy is much like Skar in both combat skill and devotion to Kaladin. Funny enough, the two are often found working together. In fact, you can almost always guarantee that if you see Skar somewhere, Drehy is right there too. Definitely besties. We unfortunately don't know much about Drehy's life before Bridge 4. Much like Skar, Drehy joined Kaladin on most missions and was as dependable as you could ask for. At some point, he entered into a relationship with a man named Drew. He also attempted to help Renarin through his own romantic feelings and identity. Drehy's a really good dude. Like Skar, he helped with the defense of Narak in Wind and Truth before helping Adolin and Aesir. We aren't certain what happened to him after this, but hopefully we'll get more information about his past during Horneater. Okay, we couldn't get this far into the list without mentioning the leader of the Windrunners himself. That's right, Sigzil. Well, the former leader, that is. Sig was a world singer apprentice to Hoid before joining Bridge 4. He was rather reckless, which is probably why Hoid liked him. He tried to kill a man and ended up part of Bridge 4 because of it. As a historian and Aesirshman, Sigzil loves his books and records, and he quickly took on the clerical role for Bridge 4. All of the brains didn't mean that Sigzil had no skill in combat, though. While not quite as apt with the spear as Skar, Drehy, Moash, or Kaladin, Sig could still hold his own in a fight against the Fused. Sometime after the first Battle of Narak, he bonded with his honor friend Vienta, becoming a full Windrunner. After Kaladin's forced retirement, Sigzil was made Company Lord, overseeing Bridge 4. He would go on to lead the defense of the Second Battle of Narak. By the end of the Night of Sorrows, Sigzil survived Vyre's wrath and was able to return to Urithiru, though not unharmed. The Windrunner lost something far greater than a limb in his final encounter against Vyre. He lost Vienta. Heroically or cowardly, depending on your perspective, Sigzil renounced his oath to Vienta moments before Moash could strike her with an anti-light dagger. This severed their connection, allowing her to retreat into Shadesmar, though now as a Deadeye. While recovering in Urithiru, Sigzil was greeted by a frantic Hoid, who gave him the Dawn Shard Exist before being vaporized by Retribution. This sent Sig to Shadesmar, where he tried to reconnect with his old friend Vienta. The Deadeyes were now somewhat restored thanks to Adolin and Maya, but Vienta had no interest in reconnecting with Sig, and he moved on. While traveling Traveling through Shadesmar with the Eerie Alley convoy off Roshar, he met Szeth's old high spren, 12124, better known as Auxiliary. We don't know where he went after this, as there is a massive time gap until the next time we see him. During his time as the Dawn Tread exists, 12124 was gravely injured by the command, feeding off of the spren to protect Sigzil from a near-death experience. Sigzil then went on a spree of random world hopping, courtesy of his newfound skipping ability granted by Exist. He became incredibly Cosmere aware during this time, traveling to many planets and meeting many peoples. A world singer's dream. This eventually led him to Canticle and the story of the Sunlit Man. After helping the Threnodites on Invention's cursed Mad Max planet and laying Auxiliary to a peaceful rest, he skipped one more time to a watery planet occupied by Shodel. Don't worry, it's probably definitely Utal. Or maybe not. Brandon's world building has no limits. This is the last we hear from Sigzil up to this point, but his story is likely far from over. Due to his physical trauma at birth and challenged childhood, Dabbid was always a bit slow. He was slow to learn, rare to speak, and one of the last original members to attract an honor spren, Lucentia. Dabbid was accused of sleeping with a Light Eye's wife in the Alethi war camps. This sentenced him to Bridge 4. During one of the bridge runs, Dabbid was trampled by a horse, an event that would spark the fire in Kaladin and his crew. Cal couldn't let Dabbid die, so he and Rock risked their lives to save him. After recovering, Dabbid became one of Bridge 4's general assistants. He wasn't much use with a weapon, but he still proved useful by doing the little things, even helping Rock in the kitchen. Dabbid proved his worthiness many times over during the occupation of Urithiru, as he was able to communicate with the sibling, helping Cal and Navani both coordinate their eventual victory. Dabbid doesn't play much of a role during the final 10 days, but this makes sense as he was never really a combatant. He was last seen in Urithiru, and he is likely still there, helping feed the Windrunners. Hopefully we will see him and Lucentia in Stormlight 6. I for one am curious to see if his condition changes now that he can heal. Before becoming a slave, Hobber was a military man. His squad got into a brawl and a man ended up dead. This landed Hobber at Bridge 4. During one of the runs, Hobber took an arrow to the thigh. Not the knee, the thigh. Kaladin fixed him up and Hobber would become intensely loyal to Cal from then on. Unfortunately, Hobber eventually found himself in a fight with the Assassin in White. After losing his legs to Szeth's attack on the Kolin war camp, Hobber was transferred to becoming a cook for the crew. This all changed when Kaladin personally guided Hobber in learning to breathe in Stormlight, and with the powers of being Kaladin's squire, he was able to regain his legs. He eventually bonded a spren and became a full Windrunner. The last time we saw him was in Urithiru during the first day. He may have went to Narak to help the defense, but the book isn't clear about this. As far as we know though, he is still alive and cheerful as always. Leyten's story is a sad one. Being an armorer's apprentice is tough work during a war. Aleita's armor broke and Leyten was sentenced to Bridge 4. Like Dabbid and Hobber, Leyten was injured during a bridge run. And of course, Mr. Stormblessed couldn't allow this. After recovering, Leyten would act as the quartermaster for Bridge 4, keeping track of the supplies, and he even fixed armor and weapons when needed. Leyten could use a spear well enough and often took part in battles with the rest of Bridge 4. During the second Battle of Narak, fueled by anger, Leyten attacked Vyre recklessly. Vyre swung out boldly, missing Leyten. However, Leyten wasn't the target. Instead, Leyten's spren Athenia was struck by the anti-Stormlight dagger and was destroyed instantly. Stunned by the ripping sensation from the Luhel bond being destroyed, Vyre was able to quickly dispatch the former bridgeman. This event drove true terror into the hearts of Bridge 4. Rest in peace, Leyten. You will be missed. The Lopen is one of the most notable members of Bridge 4. His past is still surprisingly a mystery, but it's suspected that he was a slave for some time before joining Bridge 4. Lopen had lost his left arm at some point, but we still don't know how this happened. His cheerful attitude mixed with his debility led Kaladin to handpick the Lopen to join his squad of slaves. Since carrying bridges is really hard with two hands, doing it with one hand is near impossible. Because of this, Lopen was made the water boy of Bridge 4, supporting the rest of the team in any way he could, often with his horrible jokes. As one of Kaladin's squires, he was able to use Stormlight to heal his arm. Yes, the one-armed Herdazian once again became the two-armed Herdazian. Shortly after this, he held the title of King of Alethkar for an afternoon while saving Alethkar from another assassination attempt. Yes, for a brief period of time, the Lopen was actually the official King of Alethkar. Being a decent fighter and a quick learner with his lashings, the Lopen would go on to be a trusted soldier of Kaladin's, later going on to bond Rua to become a full Windrunner. He sailed with Risen to Amia, served the Windrunners in the Amuli campaign, and a whole bunch of other wacky adventures to help save Roshar from certain doom. After Sigzil broke his oath with Vienta, the Lopen was crucial in driving Vyre away. He traveled to Shadesmar with the Windrunners, and that was the last we saw of him. But the Lopen will surely live on to tell another massively exaggerated story in the future. Lyn is an interesting member of Bridge 4, as she was not a part of the original crew of slaves. Being dissatisfied as her job as scout and messenger, she approached Kaladin to become a squire. She was a natural fit right from the jump, and the other members quickly took her under their wings. She even managed to woo Kaladin, even if he couldn't hold their relationship together for very long. It's okay, bud, you'll find love one day.
Not Shallan's mom.
Not Shallan's mom. Lyn was one of the 5 Windrunners who took Dalinar to first meet with Ishar. This of course means that she was one of the 5 Windrunners who got bodied by Ishar. She was part of Sigzil's defense force for the Battle of Narak, and as far as we know, she's still alive. We don't know if she went to Aesir with Skar and Drehy after this, so hopefully we will see more of her in the future. The lovebirds Renarin and Rlain both had rather rocky starts to their time with Bridge 4. Rlain was a Dalform scout sent to spy on the Alethi armies, but he became a slave after seeming too smart for a Parshman. Though it took time, he became attached to his Bridgeman companions after they chose to accept him in spite of the species differences. Renarin joined up after the bridge crews were freed from Sadeas. He was an awkward addition to the team as he was the son of Dalinar Kholin himself. But if there was anywhere that outcasts could find community, it would be Bridge 4. It was here where the spark between Renarin and Rlain formed. As social outcasts surrounded by brave warriors, they found another bond in their bond to enlighten Truthsprung. Yes, both Renarin and Rlain went the route of Truthwatcher instead of Windrunner, and their paths diverged a bit from the rest of Bridge 4. The two were present in the spiritual realm along with Shallan and helped free Ba'edo Mishram from her perfect gemstone prison. Renarin and Rlain are both meant to be main POV characters in the Voidlight Archive, so we will surely see more from the two during their struggles in the new Roshar. Teft was born into a cult, and they left their mark on the man. Yeah, before Yasna even met Ivory, this cult was studying and preparing for the return of the Knights Radiant. After losing his mother to cult practices, Teft reported the cult to their city lord, and all the members, his father included, were hanged. Before the bridge runs, he was married, but his wife passed, leaving the man with nothing by the time he joined the army. In Sadeas' army, he grew a fierce addiction to fire moss, which led him to being sent to the bridge crews. Teft was the one to help Kaladin first learn about his radiant powers, and he found hope again in the Shash-branded Windrunner. Cal made Teft his sergeant, and he was a core member of the crew from then on, until it all changed. As life calmed down in Urithiru, he fell back into the fire moss. He started spiraling, spending all of his money on the stuff. He even denied the Truthsprung Fenderana for a while out of shame after swearing the first ideal. Teft showed more honor than most though, and he valiantly fought against Vyre with Lift during the occupation of Urithiru. Teft's death was the moment that almost destroyed Kaladin, but ended up leading him to the 4th ideal, giving him the strength and ability to save his father's life and save the sibling. Thanks for everything, Teft. Now Moash. Storm Moash. No bridgeman deserves more disdain than Moash. After a classic villain origin story that involves his grandparents dying thanks to a light eye, Moash fled for the Shattered Plains to join the war. Instead of being enlisted as a soldier, he was sentenced to Bridge 4. From here, Moash would prove to be an obstacle for Kaladin as he tried to bring Bridge 4 together. Cal eventually grew on him though, as he tends to do. Moash would prove to be Kaladin's closest friend and most talented soldier. This was right up until Moash betrayed Kaladin, attempting to murder the king against the Windrunner's orders. There are certainly arguments to be made here about whether or not Moash was justified in his revenge, but his next actions were pretty hard to support. Moash would join Odium's forces and eventually succeed in killing Elhokar in Kholinar. He would be named Vyre, he who quiets. Vyre would then go on to try and convince Kaladin to un-Kaladin. Since that didn't work, he killed Teft and many other Windrunners. Vyre is absolutely irredeemable. I mean that, Brandon. Don't even think about it. In Wind and Truth, Vyre was beaten down after being blinded and driven from the tower. Odium collected the poor soul and took him to the Herald Batar to have his eyes replaced with hemorrhagic-like spikes, allowing him an Inquisitor-like sight, that being the ability to see investiture. This paired with a seemingly limitless supply of anti-light and Yezrian's Honor Blade made Vyre the killing machine he was at Narak. After an Avengers Assemble moment with the Lopen and the rest of Bridge 4, he simply retreated. So yes, we will see him again, and one day we may just get to see him die. Hopefully. The final member to note from Bridge 4 is one of the best, son of Tanavast, Kaladin Stormblessed. We all know the story. After killing Halloran Davar and refusing the Shard Blade, Meridus Amaram decided he wanted it. He enslaved the boy and murdered his entire squad. Kaladin was then brought to the Shattered Plains to join Bridge 4. He inspired the men who stood by him, and during Sadeas' ultimate betrayal of the Kholin house, Cal saved Dalinar and Adolin. Dalinar freed all of the Bridgemen at the cost of his Shard Blade Oathbringer, and Cal became his closest protector. The Bridgemen fought alongside him all the way until being removed from his position in Rhythm of War. During the occupation of Urithiru, he finally reached the 4th ideal before handing off leadership of Bridge 4 to Sigzil and leaving Shinovar to aid Szeth on his cleansing quest. Kaladin, per usual, protected in Book 5. Along with the Wind, Kaladin was able to save the Spren of Roshar from Retribution's wrath and reform the Oath Pact, making himself the Herald of Second Chances and taking the place of Yezrian in the new Oath Pact. He now sits in limbo with the other 9 Heralds, as this new Oath Pact protects them from the former suffering on Braze. The new Herald and Sylphrena will likely play a massive role during Voidlight, but probably not as the main POVs they once once were. But who knows? Someone has to end Moash, right? There are a couple honorable mentions I don't want to forget. Bissig, Natim, Torfin, and Yak were confirmed squires who may have bonded a spren at some point. Pete and Punyo were confirmed to have reached the first ideal with an honor spren. Cohen and Lauren both reached the second ideal. Ka and Kara were both scribes for the Windrunners, and Kolot left the Windrunners to join Adolin and become one of the 10 Unoathed. And then finally we have Huyo, the Lopen's arch nemesis who at least reached second ideal before finding himself a scholar. And last but not least, we should honor the fallen of Bridge 4. But what do you think? Will Bridge 4 still be around for Book 6? What will they do without Stormlight? Can Vyre be redeemed? No. Let us know what you think in the comments below. I also want to give a special shout out to our top tier patrons, Mac, Aquila, and Cobweb. You guys are the best. Kolo?